You're listening to the Eye on the Market Backstory with David O. England. This week's Eye on the Market column continues from David, Cannabis Companies Up in Smoke. This is our final one, David. This one to me is probably going to be my favorite. We've talked about some of the, you can say a little bit the negatives of the industry, but this one is the one that I had never thought about. And again, before we start, we're not talking again about the ethics and
Correct.
anything about cannabis. That's what we're staying away from. This is purely about the business and the market and how it's affecting the markets and what's going to change and what's coming up. Our discussion today is on cannabis companies. And a little reminder, and you can discuss this again, it's still illegal.
Yes, sir.
Federally, correct?
Correct.
Why are we even talking about this? Let's review that again real quick.
Well, it's very important, Thomas, because and if people want to see or hear the backstory on Series 1 and 2, then all you got to do is go to my Facebook page, and it's there. This third part is companies that are not cannabis companies, but they're cannabis-related companies. So that means that they're perfectly legal to buy and sell. And those are some that I focus on more than any of the others.
Yesterday, you and I had an experience.
Yes.
We just happened to walk into a room, and there was a gentleman there. His company basically is called Echo Buds.
Yes.
Echo Buds, I was noticing here's a little phrase, is start clean, stay clean. He's helping manage the risk. This is what David has been talking about, and this is what we're talking about today.
There are a number of businesses out there that anytime that you have money coming into an industry, there's always side businesses. So this is a business, and we're at the SI Southern Illinois Incubator.
Yeah.
Very progressive place for ideas and these kinds of things. And I was excited to be there yesterday, and I plan on going back and see these people some more. But this is an example of one business that does the legal stuff, supplying, testing, and these kinds of things in the cannabis industry. And there's hundreds of them out there. In the 1849 gold rush, who made the money? Was it the miners? Some of the miners went home in a box.
Mm-hmm.
They even got home. Is the people that sold the picks and the axes. So what I'm looking at is the companies that sell the so-called picks and the axes, the testing companies, the peripheral companies, the leasing companies. Those types of things are the ones that I get excited about. Not that I don't get excited about some of the others, but I'm not going to invest in something that is illegal federally. So that's why the third, and this is the final column in this series. And Tom, it's been an exciting series, and I hope that a lot of our listeners and readers have been able to get some the truth about it.
And by the way, where do we find these companies linked to the cannabis industry? You mentioned that in the article. I'm just reading verbatim some of your questions. So where do we find them?
One of the things that I did is there's no, I've got an analytics business. There's no need to reinvent the wheel and spend, a few $1,000s in research. All I do is I research the funds, exchange-traded funds in this sector. And then I open up that box and see what companies do those fund managers think have the most potential. And then I list those down. And then what it is, I cross-reference those with the ones that are the peripheral companies. And those are the ones. And then once I get those, I sort those into by volume to see which ones have the most potential. And those are the ones that there's 4 here that I wrote about today. And then
what are those 4? You have a 5th, right?
Yes, my 5th, yes.
It's the one you're excited about, you
Yes.
said. Okay.
Of course, people can go to the column. I'll just give you some symbols. IIPR, it's a company that deals in that leases space to these cannabis operators. Constellation Brands. Most people have heard about that. That's production, marketing, and distribution of beer, wine, and spirits. Well, they're using different things from the cannabis in with those products. Here's one that people probably never think of, Scott's Miracle-Gro. And take a look at the chart on Scott's. We've been using it in the yard for years. It's peripheral industry that has just taken off. And then Corbus Pharmaceuticals. Those are types of things that deal with phase 3 clinical stage pharmaceuticals, the development and commercialization of therapeutics to treat chronic and serious diseases that are seeing really good benefits with this. So those are 4, just right off the top of my head, that were some of the most successful so far.
That's interesting. Number 5.
Yes.
Now, what is it about number 5?
There's a whole industry out there that deals with the marijuana breathalyzer part. The technology is not there yet. The company that's publicly traded, there's some privately owned ones. We can't buy those. but the one that is the most popular publicly traded is Cannabis Technologies, symbol BLOZF. Now, it's not ready to buy now. Of course, we don't buy signals or sell signals. It's trading around 60 cents. But it'll occasionally run up 200 or 300% and back, 200 or 300% and back. It's not a buy and hold. It's for a trading candidate. But, Tom, just think, when they get the technology where you have, as far as the breathalyzer, the same thing they do with alcohol, every local, municipal, state, and federal police department and law enforcement will be mandated to have this. Just think of the revenue they're missing out on now. And so that shows you what the potential is in this industry. And also, Tom, I see that there's others coming into this space. To me, that is the most exciting opportunity that we have in this industry.
I don't know if we have enough time to get in charts and other things, but this is the point, when it becomes legal.
Yes. Federally.
Federally.
Yes.
And we're talking about the current industries that are out there, but when it becomes legal, it'll change the game.
Most definitely. Do not be surprised to eventually see, once it gets legally federal, that means the institutions can buy without any problems. They're the ones that have the highest volume. That's when the huge money will really start to get into it. So don't be surprised to eventually see some cannabis companies in the S&P 500 and maybe someday in the Dow Industrials.
What's coming up next?
Well, one of the things that I was going to write about, the coronavirus, how it affects us market-wise and the risks. I was going to do that this week, but I had a commitment to go ahead and finish this. So that's probably going to be the next topic. And by the way, when people compare it to SARS and these kinds of things, that's like comparing apples and zebras.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be talking about what the national media is not discussing, but should be.
We'll look forward to that. I want to remind you, if you want more information or if you want to contact David O. England about his latest column like this one, which is a third in a series on cannabis, you can email thetraderseye@gmail.com or find David England on Facebook. And one reminder for you, this podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not intended as a recommendation to buy or sell any securities mentioned in our discussion.
Tom, don't forget, plan your work your plan, and most important, share your harvest.